Welcome, guys, and thank you so much for giving up your time and being here tonight.
Thanks so much.
So I'd like to start with, who are you guys? Where are you from? Where did you go to school? What did you study? All of that. Leon?
Number 1 or 2? Yeah, joke. That's an optometry joke. Okay, so I think one of the reasons why I was invited is I am originally from Bloemfontein. I went to one of the boys' schools in Bloemfontein, and qualified at the University of Free State. So, yeah, from there on I went to Johannesburg, and then I think we all end up in Cape Town one time or another. But yes, that's pretty much a short summary of the background.
Okay. So I'm from the south of Johannesburg in a small town called Alberton. I graduated from UJ. It was Rao before then. So yeah, that's what I did. And yeah, we do end up in Cape Town for a while. I did my community service there. Spent a little bit of time there before deciding no. I'll rather take it slow for a while before I go back to the big cities. So yeah, that's how I started.
Okay, and why optometry, if I can ask that question?
You continue, I'll add to that. The reason is always, you don't get in for medicine. So optometry is second best. I'm joking, it might be my reason, but what's yours?
Well, for me, I actually did start off wanting to do medicine. So, no. Honestly, and so my father then convinced me, look, he sat me down and, he's a numbers guy. So he says, look, 6-7 years and then specialization for 4, and then after that you'll still be working for about 15 a month, So how about you come here and help me out? Which is 4 years of hell. And so that's how I got into it. And an interesting story, so I did a lot of sports growing up. So I used to, in and out of hospital, and a couple of eye injuries later, that's when I was fascinated with the field. So yeah.
Okay, cool. So my story, the reason why they call me an entrepreneur, not optometrist, is because I get bored. I think I've got ADHD. And so I wanted to be a tank engineer, like not Star Wars, but be an engineer that creates army tanks. And then I had a radical, I think, spiritual reawakening when I was 18 years old, and I thought, well, creating stuff that kills people is probably not the coolest thing. And then thought, what's the opposite? And that's medicine. And I tried to apply for medicine. But you literally need to have 96% average to get into medicine. It's almost impossible. And that's actually a real number for some people. And so I didn't come in for medicine. And funny enough, I didn't get into optometry either. Until I think the day before the classes started, I got eventually in. And with all humility, I can say I qualified top of my class. Not because I was the smartest, definitely not, but I just really loved it. So I started studying it, thought I'll reapply for medicine after a year. And when I started studying it, I enjoyed it so much, never looked back. And I think optometry, like a lot of people would say, comparing it to other medical fields, it's called a paramedical field. So it's not the real thing. But it's really a very balanced, what do you call it? A very balanced career, because you have psychology, you work with people all the time. There's a massive health component to it, a lot of physics to it. The part that I'm mostly interested in is the business component.
A lot of retail.
A lot of retail,
yeah.
And I think that's something we don't get trained on a lot, or at all, I want to say. But it's a well balanced career field, and I think once you start, you're pretty happy you've done it.
So in entrepreneurship, at the moment entrepreneurship is entre-life, #boss lady, and people are talking about a lot about passion, your why, and neither of you are saying, as a child, this is what I want to do. Would you say that you're passionate about it and that's what keeps you going, or you became passionate about it?
I always say it depends on the day you've asked and who was my last patient. First patient, yeah. Every business, there's ups and downs, there's politics, there's all the things we have to deal with that are outside optometry before you actually walk in and see a client or a patient. So you fall in love with it each and every day. You hate it, you love it again. So it's really up and down. There's not a particular day where you are, yes, I'm loving it. No, I'm hating it. It's literally up and down on every single day.
It's like being on Prozac, I think. No. Are you finished? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, for me, I've been an entrepreneur, I think, my whole life, because when I was in grade 7, so everybody started smoking and trying stuff. And
In grade 7.
in grade 7, I was in the wrong school. So I saw an opportunity, and the guys were buying cigarettes, but you can't. So where do you find cigarettes? So I made cigarettes out of paper and my mom's tea, and sold the cigarettes at school, and well, it worked for a while. And then in high school, when some of my friends started doing, working as a waiter or doing this and that, and I never wanted to work for somebody. So my parents was in the motor car industry. So when you buy a car, you get a champagne bottle. So I thought, well, this is an opportunity. So I supplied the champagne bottle, but I had a twist to it. So I bought an HP printer scanner, went to Walton's and bought stickers and designed on PowerPoint basic labels and supplied it to them. Bought the cases for 250 and sold it to them for 500 and made 10,000 Rand a month at the age of 16 or 17. So that continued into university, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, and from there on, I think I like to focus on a specific thing. And studying optometry, like you said, is really, really tough. It's 4 years. It's usually 7 in America, and they squeeze it into 4 years. So I couldn't focus on anything else. And then later on, my passion for business reactivated. So that's the story of entrepreneurship.
And because optometry has a dual sort of function, it's retail as well clinical. A lot of optoms end up business focusing more on the business. I know a few of my friends have gone deeper into the clinical aspect of it, but a lot of us actually then migrate to other businesses because it actually involves you test a patient and then you try and convince them on product, i.e. spectacles or contact lens, and you have to sell it to them, So it involves that kind of marketing, that kind of advertising, that kind of salesmanship at the end of the day as well, besides having to then test and explain a clinical condition to a patient. So that dual aspect of optometry really makes us more of an all-rounder where we can move into a practice, we can move into a different type of a business and succeed because of that dual function.
So Richard, do you see why optometrist is cool? Yes. Amen, brother.
So, owning your own businesses, being a serial entrepreneur, family business, can you share a bit about that journey? Why did you decide to stay? Many entrepreneurs try it out, it's hard as hell, and they just give up. What did you have like an aha moment of you absolutely loved it from the beginning, or tell us about your journey.
Palesa, go for it.
It's like every single day is different, and entrepreneurship. Running a business is exhausting. It's difficult. I was discussing earlier today. You get calls on a Sunday, you get calls on a Saturday. You
From
get
F&B.
Yeah,
No, I'm joking.
yeah. F&B I can handle, but the mom with my kid just hit something or something is in the eye. Can you help us out? That will be at 9 o'clock at night sometimes, and it is. Oh my goodness, half the time you are watching, your elementary or with a glass of wine and you're not in your right frame of mind to be dealing with such. But entrepreneurship is really difficult, and the reason we stay, I will say for me, 70% is the clients, the people. Being out in a sort of a semi-rural, semi-urban area, where you're providing a more specialized skill to a diverse clientele, you meet different types of people, and that was what makes you stay. Running a business for me is very interesting. Like I said, no one day is the same. Monotony would kill me. So I love the different aspects of it sometimes, yeah.
So this might take a while, but my journey, so after university, I went to Johannesburg, practiced there for 4 or 5 years. And me and a few friends from church, every time on a Saturday night, we would braai, and one guy would have an idea, and we were entrepreneurs, you'd like, I've got an idea, this will change the world, how about this and that? And we said, but let's take this. We identified 6 guys that had a few specific skills to add to the conversation, and we formalized the company. And we came together on Monday evenings, and everybody would pitch 2 ideas. So we would then choose 2 out of the 12 ideas, and then you had to go back, and we had formulated teams, and go and build a physical business plan. Do your research, and then present it again. And whichever idea then won, everybody had 5,000 rand savings or 10,000 rand savings. So we got 50 or 60,000 rand, and then that idea will then win. Horrible idea, because if you don't have a business that you can take a photo as well with that phone if you want to. But if you don't have a proper jockey which is focused, a business won't never work, but it is quite difficult. So we lost a lot of money. We bought and sold second-hand cars. We bought wildlife or bucks, and we still have them. We don't know where they are. We started a plumbing business. We tried everything, and I think the biggest thing there is just you learn a lot about business. But one of my ideas was, what I saw in practice is people coming back into the practice saying, if the glass is broken, and they're trying to shift the blame onto you as the optometrist and saying, I just got this like this. And then you've got to basically replace that pair of glasses to the patient just to keep them happy so that they don't tell the rest of the community. Losing your sales, affecting your gross profit. So I had this idea for spectacle insurance. So it was probably like a proper startup idea. There's nothing like that. Came back to 1 year in January, and one of the guys in the group said, well, my brother would like actually to invest, and let's start the startup. So we said, well, that's cool. At that stage, I was in practice, and I now went into as an industry rep to get a higher salary to be able to get married. And I worked for 6 months as a rep, so I got to see both sides of the industry, and I think that's also important. Like keep to your industry, and then after that, I quit cold turkey. So we got married in April. The 1st of March, I started the business, a startup. So I've got 1.5 million startup capital, and I started with a Windows computer, which is the worst. I don't know if you use Windows. Yes, that's the worst. And I didn't even know how to create a logo or email address, but we had Office Space, which is also a waste. And Office Space in Sandton, and I didn't know where to begin, but Monday morning, 8 o'clock, 1st of March, I sat there and didn't know anything, but started building a startup. And from there on, I mean, there's different things. But so I think, if I can say out of that is, for the years that I was in practice, every morning I would get up at 5, read the entrepreneur website, wanted to be an entrepreneur, but don't know actually what it is, how to do it, or get there. But by thinking about entrepreneurship and wanting to create something, I think you attract that energy and you attract that opportunities. I mean, it started, getting from out of practice into like a real insurtech startup, going back into practice. Started by saying, hey guys, we've all got ideas, let's just get together. So yeah, I think just starting, even if it's the wrong way, just start was the biggest thing.
And I'd just like to touch on the point of competition. This is an industry with a lot of big names and household names. You walk in and there's melons everywhere. How do you deal with that kind of competition? Is it not a bit daunting? I imagine, if I had to start a business up against a brand like that in retail, I'd be petrified.
No, I never fear franchises. No, it's the quantity over quality. people still prefer quality, you know, and that is one thing I always, and I think lecturers just drilled this into us as well, is you give your client time. You teach your client why is it important that they prioritize their eye test, for example. This is not a McDonald's. You don't get a 5-minute burger and walk out of here. You need to give yourself time. I need to explain to you what is wrong. I need to explain to you the basics of what I'm doing, because you know you can come back and sue me if I do something wrong. So once you can start teaching people the value of what you are doing, the service that you're providing, they will always come back, and they will not appreciate anything less than the standard that you set. So I never fear competition. I welcome it like a Aztec warrior. So franchises and competition actually in any business should make you want to do better, want to do provide the best, and it's encouraging. It's something that motivates you. So you should never ever fear it. So yeah, that for me, competition, franchising.
And Leon, I suppose for you, it's more starting something that doesn't exist.
Well, picture this. So you get the funding, you start your startup, you work for 6 months and you create a whole company, functional, you get your insurance licenses, you build the product, and there's an industry event where everybody is, and you're launching at this event. And 2 weeks before this event, there's a newsletter that you get, and somebody has got exactly the same idea, launching exactly the same company at the event that you are launching at. So that happened. I would never forget it, because I thought this was the most noble idea, spectacle insurance. This is the coolest idea ever. And the guy that was launching a similar idea was like an industry legend, John Stein from SB Media. So this guy controls all, he knows everybody, he's got 2 or 3 companies. So I was so dismotivated, is that a word?
Unmotivated?
Unmotivated?
Demotivated.
Demotivated. Hashtag Bloemfontein. There we go. So, and then, well, what I also did is when I started with the startup, I didn't know anything about business. I thought, well, might as well just take 2 hours out of the 15-hour day and read. So, luckily, I read this one portion about competition and saying, especially when you're a startup, and entrepreneurship is, I mean, there's different levels of entrepreneurship. One of them is creating something in an industry that changes the way that an industry works. If you think about, I mean, all the big names. But if you do have competition, it validates your product. So I saw it in a different light, and I thought, well, that's fantastic. It means if people are not going to think, well, this is crazy, and they're spending marketing money. So people, I might knock on the door and I think, oh, you guys, those guys. No, we're not those guys, but we're better, and this is the reason why. So competition is a great thing, and I think in an industry, there's always different strategies. From, I mean, you can be the low cost one, or the high quality one, or the quality versus quantity. But it doesn't matter. I think in any industry, there's a space for it, and understanding economics as well. That's what keeps the industry evolving. So competition is as important in business as it is in sports. Imagine there was only one team. It would suck. We wouldn't have a World Cup. So competition is really, I think, one of the things that's the most scariest, but also the most exciting in business. Yeah.
And through these ups and downs and difficulties and, you know, being an entrepreneur, who would you say was your biggest support? You know, where did you find, how did you get through it? How are you getting through it?
A cat. Get a cat, everybody. It's fantastic.
I thought you were going to say your wife. You know this is going on video, right?
No. Palesa, let me just...
I will not say cat. It fits too much into the cliche, you know?
But yes, actually, I think my family and my wife, absolutely. So, like I said, we started the business the 1st of March. We got married the 10th of April. We moved to cities in 6 months' time. And my wife was just consistent, and she goes through all of those ups and downs, waking up in the morning and brainstorming with you. So I think it's not impossible without that, but having somebody that really goes through the journey with you is the most important thing.
Family. related and unrelated. You know, your family grows as you get older. You know, so yeah, family. I don't want to say friends, family. You know.
I just want to say something else. In that regard, I think people that can give you the most support can actually be the opposite. So if one of our family members, when I wanted to start and quit my job, and because as an optometrist it's seen as a very secure job, you know, you always have work, but starting a startup is very risky, and I just got married, and. So one of a family member said, well, we'll keep a bed open for you guys when your business fails, so you can stay with us. And that shook me. Like, I was really, but it kept me motivating of saying, I'll prove I'll make this work. So managing, I think, that relationship, because not everybody's families are supportive. And it's not, yeah, but I think that's just something to keep at top of mind, and manage that actively.
And if I could ask, have you guys had any mentors or confidants, or anybody in business that you've leaned on?
My bank manager. Yeah, look, my family, my father, my uncles, my aunts, lecturers, and people that you meet along the way, who are surprised at what you do, or are curious and want to support and help you, push you forward. So yeah, we meet different people every day that just give you a glimpse and just give you hope. Some just mess up your day, but the large majority of people just support you. So yeah, your family really, clients, the works, yeah.
So make a long story short, so we started the startup, and then one of my best friends, yes, he's fantastic, he's got a great mind. He had an amazing idea of starting a tech startup, of taking electronic slips and of slips, making them electronic. So you've got an app and it's cloud-based and everything. So I thought that was the best idea ever. So I took him to the same angel investor, and he also invested in him. So both of us started the company together. What then happened is he had 2 great ideas, and there was a third one. So we started 4 startups together. We were the 2 guys. That's the worst idea, guys. Never do that. But understanding, I mean, it was an e-commerce startup, a tech startup, insurtech startup, and it was a bicycle tracking idea. And we knew that we needed help. So within the I think the sphere of influence of our investors, and we got together an advisory board, and it was people in different industries. That was the CIO of a major bank, ex-general manager of a retailer, a chairman of a mining company, the CEO of 2 insurance companies. So it was really these heavyweight guys, and they agreed to sit with us once a quarter and listen for a whole day to us, giving our strategy, giving our ideas, and giving their input. And the nice thing was they weren't investors, so they weren't emotionally involved, and could really just give sound advice. I think it's at the beginning of a business, being open to that, of saying your business plan sucks, you need to change everything. Being humble enough to listen to that and being open to that is really important. So if you don't have somebody in your life that can give you that business advice, go and look for them, because people are actually more open to giving advice. And I think aren't all entrepreneurs like that. I mean, the story, so you want to influence and mentor and help people as well. So phone the CEO of APSA and he'll maybe want to help you. Okay, maybe not, but just phone. I think
you never know.
You never know.
So I'd just like to ask, within your industry, what opportunities are there? If somebody's thinking perhaps to start a business in the industry, what can you share that's exciting, that's happening?
For me, one of the first things that I discovered in running your business is you'll have about 10,000 bosses, i.e. all your suppliers. People that you owe money to will be your boss. So if you don't want to wake up in the morning and work, and then you realize, oops, I need to go pay this person, you will get up and go work. So one of the best advices that I got was when your business starts picking up, you need to minimize the amount of suppliers. So if you can get into businesses that actually supply your trade, all the better, because you're going to minimize your suppliers and end up making more money in other fields. There is what we call dispensing in our field. There is specialization, which is then ophthalmology. I think those are some of the things that you can get into. Some of the biggest people that make money in optometry are people that produce our end goods, like your lenses, your glasses. So it's stuff that you can get into. Or even specialize in optometry, would I say that? Ophthalmology. That's when you do the surgeries and stuff. But that involves obviously studying further. But yeah, it's a very closed field. But if you can get into supplying the consumables, that also has good money in there. Yeah.
Can I share what we're doing?
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. So there's roughly 40 people here tonight, right? There's 8 people that wears glasses. Probably everybody wears sunglasses, so that's 20%. Whom of you have been for an eye test in the past 2 years? That looks almost like 50%, all right? Whom of you would do an eye test, and we're not doing that, but doing an eye test if it was online? Show of hands.
If it was online.
If it was online, we're not doing that.
Yeah, no, not
All right.
yet.
So they did a study specifically looking at millennials. And I mean, again, let me just, by show of hands, whom of you have or has done online shopping in the past 6 months? Almost everybody, isn't it? So I think understanding, listening to what people want. So they did a study looking at millennials. Millennials said if 80% of people would do an eye test, they could do it online. Meaning people are looking for convenience, making it easier. Now, unfortunately, you can't do an eye test online. It's really important to look at your health. We take photos, we look at the back of your eye. There's a lot of things that we do from a health point of view. But it doesn't mean that people can't have access to eye care if it's online. So we are, the new startup, or the business that I'm busy building now is we call it the brick and click combination. So you've got brick, which is your physical practices, but also combined with those practices, an online distribution, making it easy for people to get glasses. So the website we're launching in a month's time is getglasses.co.za, which means that you are able to, if you have a prescription, went to your optometrist, but you don't have access to get glasses, you can, when you've got the budget, you can get glasses and have it delivered by you, to you. And I think there's a lot of, in the industry, and I think you'll agree, there's a lot of optometrists are very scared of it, but I'd rather have my practice have that option available to my patients than going and looking at for offshore. And that's something that is happening. I mean, online in our industry is growing the fastest. It's grown by 40% in Australia. It's responsible for 35% of online or any sales in America. There's a company called Warby Parker, which it's interesting. It's 2 guys. They did the MBA. After they finished it, they celebrated, went on doing hiking. The one guy lost his glasses and then wanted to get a new pair, and it was like $4,000 or $400 or something. And he said, why are glasses so expensive? Did research and they started Warby Parker. The company now, after 6 or 7 years, is valuated at $2.3 billion. And what they did is import their own frames, did this brick and click combination, but just made it easy and accessible for people to get glasses and more affordable. So yes, that's, I think in South Africa, our whole concept is we've got to look at differently at the South African health environment. There's 63 million South Africans. 10% of that, which is 6 or 7 million people, has a medical aid. So if you don't have a medical aid, what do you do? And if you don't even have money for bread, what do you do in that case? So there's 40 million people that can't afford eye care. And they've also proven that your income can rise by 80% if a person has proper eye care or proper sight throughout their life. So our whole concept is buy a pair, give a pair. So if you buy a pair of glasses, we'll donate a pair of glasses and build a team that can go out into South Africa. So it's almost like a Robin Hood, taking from the rich and giving to the poor, but making it free for the other 40 million, because there's very few people looking at the rural South Africa in terms of eye care, and there are efforts, but it's not enough. So that's what we're trying to solve in South Africa specifically.
Yeah, and something quite interesting. So I was in Milan a year ago. So something very, very interesting that's coming through, which I'm excited about, working with a company based in Johannesburg, is 3D printing, which is scary because I've seen the YouTube videos with the guns and all of those things. That is absolutely scary. But the nice thing in trying to bridge the gap between providing our service to the rural-based area is that with 3D printing, you can then start printing glasses as well. So I'm really, really excited about that. There's a company in Italy called Budget. So they are doing the first 3D printed glasses, and we're trying to do the same thing also in this country as well, just to bridge the gap between getting our services out there. I think the last time I checked the stats, there was about 5,000 optometrists in this country, 4,000 optometrists servicing almost 60 million people. So you can imagine the gap. So if we're not trying, like I was saying, you're not trying to franchise things, but you're just trying to make the consumables accessible to a larger populace. Yeah. So that is really exciting.
That really is exciting. So just to wrap up before we go into audience Q&A, have you got any industry insight or just business advice or just one thing that you want to share with an aspiring entrepreneur or somebody that feels like, okay, I'm going to give up tomorrow?
Something I would like to share, what you touched on as well, is don't fear competition. Rather embrace it, because it then improves what you can offer. It validates your services. It gives you an idea of what you could be doing better, what you're missing in your company. So rather be the guy that then provides it. Okay? Learn from your competitors rather than fear them. You see, so if you change that mindset, business will be always easier for you, because you're always piggybacking off, and that's what business is really. Just learning from different ideas, identifying gaps, and bringing services closer to people, providing service and products closer to your consumers. So competition, never fear.
That's awesome advice. I don't want to be this guy that is asking this, but just for me to understand the audience, whom of you are currently employed by somebody else? Whom of you, I take it everybody wants to be a full-time entrepreneur. Whom of you is owning a small business? All right, awesome. And whom of you are busy with a startup? Wow. That's awesome. My advice would be, get a good lawyer.
Shem is your lawyer.
There's the hashtag Richard. I know it probably sounds a bit pessimistic. And all the things in business, you can probably, with Google, you can figure it out. But when it comes to contracts, law, agreements, we don't know what we don't know. There is so many loopholes and things people can do. And unfortunately, trust nobody. That's the other thing as well. I think don't even trust yourself. So have a third person that is there as a lawyer that can help you to follow and structure things right from day one. If you don't have money to get a lawyer, don't start a business. That's the biggest thing. And I mean, there's online people that will help you. There's a lot of law companies that partners with startups or entrepreneurs, doing almost pro bono or at lowest cost. And I mean, there's lots of them. But even from getting money or employment contracts. It's really important for you to follow those rules, because down the line, 3, 5, 10 years, you'll be lying awake not about money or competition, but about, did I miss anything? Is there anything that can come and attack? So it's almost like a chess game. You know, you've got to protect your king, and having a proper lawyer is somebody that can advise you to take all of those steps and build a proper business. So that's probably the most practical advice I can give somebody.
Thank you very much for a very interesting talk. Do you think there is any age threshold when people can start up their own businesses, or it can be any time?
No. As long as you have the energy, the passion, the vision, an idea, you know, I don't think age matters. You know, I still want to be 80 years old, going to the club. At the age of 80, you know.
50 Cent, go work in the club.
Exactly. So, no, never. Yeah, I'll never let that limit me, personally.
So let me back up your question with facts. The average startup that is successful is started by somebody that's 33 years old. Big companies have been started with people from, I mean, look at Snapchat, from 9 probably till 55. So age doesn't really matter. But there's also research done that your brain is fully developed when you're 25 years old. So that you're out of your adolescent phase. So I think the older you are, like having that balance between energy and capacity is ideal. But I agree 100% with you. There's no specific age. But statistically, they've also looked at what is the major reason why startups fail. And is it, I think lack of funding is one of the components. Secondly is team, you know, your co-founder. But the most important thing for any startup in business is timing in the market. There's a company that exactly had the same idea than YouTube. So watch videos online, but you had to download a codec. And then it came out that the browsers came with a pre-installed codec, and there you got YouTube. So timing and making sure that, and I think for any startup, failing fast is the most important thing. Seeing that if something's not going to work, you know, trash it and move on to the next thing. Don't try and keep on. Nie probeer water uit 'n klip uit tap nie. Or try and get water from a stone, like I say. But there's no specific age, but I think there is wisdom in a lot of other things. Yeah.
Leon and Palesa. Being an auditor, accountant, we are trained to mitigate risk.
I had a CA as a co-founder. I know.
That's what chartered accountants are trained to do. Now, you probably know that the National Health Plan is in the loophole. It's being built as an act. What do you guys see as pitfalls and as benefits when that National Health Institute, if I can call it that, is going to be implemented? And I talk as soon as 2030 or something, 2025, if I remember correctly. So what do you see as optometrists being in the allied health sphere? What do you see as pitfalls? What do you see as benefits that's going to affect your business?
So guys, NHI is the National Health Insurance. So basically just providing medical aid to each and every citizen, which is actually your right as a tax-paying citizen of any country. So one of the things I see as a pitfall is the education of the masses. You know, you're giving a service to people and not explaining to them what it is. The sheer volume of having to deal with millions and millions of people who now have access to medical health, but you're not spending money on training doctors and health professionals. So it's going to take a while. I mean, if first world countries are struggling with it, what about us, you know? The advantage of it really is then when you then see the loopholes and pitfalls, then you can position yourself to offer solutions to government. offer solutions to other companies on how to gap and bridge between the public and or the service provider and the client. So there's opportunities in everything, I believe. So like I said, I'll keep repeating it. Nothing should scare you. You know, if you see something coming, look at ways to solve it, to overcome it, and that what makes a great entrepreneur. Okay.
I mean, who wouldn't like free insurance? That is amazing. It's an amazing idea. But I agree 100% with you that there's no way the South African health education system, as it's currently now, can brought to the rest of South Africa. But something that I think is necessary. It's an opportunity, and I think any business works on volume. But the moment you increase volume or quantity, you reduce quality. And that's the major concern, because health, you can't reduce quality. I mean, people would lose their lives. One of the other obstacles I think they really are is, I don't think people understand really how tough it is outside. There's something called Philopeppa train, where you go with this train that's funded offshore. You go into rural areas and spend a week there. And they ask 5 Rand for any medication and 30 Rand for a pair of glasses. And it's unbelievable. There's people that has blinding eye conditions, and you say you need to pay 5 Rand to get the medication so that we can save your sight. And people don't have 5 Rand for that medication. So the current distribution of healthcare is in the private sector, and getting people from the rural areas to those healthcare providers who doesn't even have 5 Rand, how are they going to afford 100 or 200 or 300 Rand to get from point A to B? So I think there's a much bigger issues than we need to set the infrastructure first. But it is an opportunity, I think, for any industry. And I think it's great for, like you said, like it's just a human rights aspect. But I don't think it's a risk. It's definitely an opportunity. But daar's nog baie water wat in die see moet loop.
NMG. Thank you, Leon and Palesa, for today. It was a really inspiring insight. But how many optometrists are there in South Africa again? 4,000?
3,360.
Okay.
I'm joking.
And we spoke to you today. And till today, I didn't know much about optometry, and I'm quite intrigued. So I would like to know why I should go to your businesses, basically.
This is very awkward. This is like asking, which auditor should I go to? I'm joking. Yeah, please tell us about your business.
Quality service. Been free. We strive to educate before we do anything, all right? So that you know next time why the need to go to an optometrist, why our profession exists. So that's the number one thing. You just try to teach as many people as possible what you do and why you do it, so they can keep coming. Yeah.
Okay, so my business, we've got, as an optometry profession, we've got a practice in Sandton, and I've got a practice in Paul where I practice. We've started developing a new model towards optometry and glasses. It's quite difficult. I think everybody that wears glasses here would know. If you walk into an optometrist and I ask you, how much is a pair of glasses? What is your answer?
Depends.
There we go. Depends. Are you on medical aid? Which medical aid? Is it a high prescription that you wear? I mean, there's a lot of components. I mean, I don't even understand it. How should the consumer understand it? So our model works as following. You walk into our practice, all of our frames are exactly the same price. If you order a pair of single vision glasses, it's 999 or 1,000 Rand. You can choose any frame and any type of lens. Your glasses is 1,000 Rand. 2,000 Rand for bifocal, 3,000 Rand for multifocal. So that's for all the people. Richard. It's there to simplify the process, and our whole motto is it should be easier to get a pair of glasses than getting a cup of coffee. Walk in, choose a frame, because otherwise you like this frame, but it's too expensive. It doesn't fall within your benefits. You've got to do co-payment. Can you pay it off in 3 months? It's really complicated. I think optometry is really complicated. So we're trying to simplify it as best as possible, but still give. I mean, our eye consultations is 45 minutes, and we've got the latest equipment that there is in the field. So we providing high quality but at affordable prices. That's our whole model, and trying to make it really easy for the consumer to understand. But that's my speciality. I like system architecture, user experience. So I'm obviously focused onto that.
I just want to ask, in regards to the challenges that you face as entrepreneurs, in regards to the challenges that you guys face. So in terms of your demographics, like your age and so forth, you find that in certain industries, it's a certain age that dominates. For example, in law, you'd find that in partners would be 60, maybe 60 older, matured people. In your industry, how do you navigate, being young people, getting people to listen to you, investors to take you seriously as entrepreneurs?
The reason why I like Lady Brand, particularly for myself, is you're there in this community and you provide a service that the nearest other optom would be, let's say, in Bloem. So you get a large demographic of people. You get from your 6-month-old all the way to your 89-year-old. So that has helped me gain a lot of information. That has helped me deal with a lot of different people. So when I talk to an investor or try to sell my idea to somebody that can help possibly fund, I don't actually want to say mobile, but fund an outreach program, then I have a large source of information that I can relate to this person so that they understand my vision. Because one of the things I get asked a lot is, why Lady Brand? Such a small place, why? And normally I say, no, just to polish my people skills, just to polish my business skills. Because if I can make it work in a small area and learn all the skills that you need to learn to be a successful business person, then to apply that to even bigger businesses becomes easier. Yeah. So yeah, I think just learning how to communicate with different types of people is key. Yeah.
Sorry, what's your name? Neo. New. It's a new question, man. So if I understand your question correctly, you're asking, is there a prime age as an optometrist in our industry?
Not necessarily just operating, because you seem very young. So in certain industries, people take you more seriously than they assume that there's maturity, experience to your field.
Yeah.
It's like walking into your GP's office and he's, fresh out of varsity. I don't want that guy.
That's a really... I would never forget. Can I tell a story? My first patient I ever saw in private practice. I qualified the Thursday, started working on the Monday. First patient I ever saw. Patient came in, says she's seeing flashes of light. So what would that be?
Suspected retinal detachment.
And is that serious?
Very serious.
So I refer this patient across the road to the ophthalmologist, which she's got to pay 1,500 Rand consultation. And it came out she actually just had a migraine. So, being a young optometrist or health professionals really has got its challenges. But I think with age, I've always been the youngest at everything that I've been doing at. And I think when people just can hear you speak and understand your knowledge, because new blood is a new vision and changes in industry, and isn't that what an entrepreneur is? So, yes, I think nobody takes somebody that's young serious. But if they see that you take yourself serious, they take you serious as well. But you've got to be knowledgeable. You've got to have grit. You have to be able to show that you're not just another guy trying to be something that you're not. But yeah, age really doesn't matter. Especially in our industry, there's a lot of older guys but they start looking for somebody to take over from their position. So again, it's an opportunity, it's always.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That concludes the Fireside Chat for tonight.